Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are so delighted to see you here this evening as we welcome Shabbat together. I am Cantor Amanda Kleinman. So happy to be joined tonight by my colleague Cantor Danielle Rodniski, who I recently learned that between our Zoom services over the past year and our services outdoors is actually in our sanctuary for our Friday night service for the first time. I know you've been here for our B'nai Mitzvah services and life cycle events all throughout the past year, but it really is a joy to be able to sing together here in the sanctuary. We want to welcome as well our pianist and conductor, Pete Malinverni, who lifts us up in prayer, and we will look forward to hearing a little bit later on in our service from our congregant, Mark Koch. One of the joys of our summer services is that we have an opportunity to hear from guest darshanim to help get to know members of our community a little better and to hear their perspectives on the weekly Torah portion. This week's Torah portion is called Matot Maseh. It's actually a double Torah portion that concludes the book of Numbers. The word Maseh actually means journeys or travels. And a significant part of the portion is dedicated to outlining the travels of the Israelites from the time they leave Egypt through their wanderings in the desert. And I know that for many of us, summer is a time of many travels and journeys, and it is important and it is a joy to use Shabbat as an opportunity to come home, to reconnect as a community in the midst of those journeys that all of us are taking. And so at this time, we will continue by lighting our Shabbat candles together. I'd like to invite forward Samantha Koss and David Friedman to help us kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you to you, Samantha and David. We will continue welcoming Shabbat together on page 130 with the words of Lechu Neranena. It is very special and a unique treat for us two cantors to have a chance to lead this service together. It means we get to do a lot of singing together throughout our service, and so we chose a song for Kabbalat Shabbat to welcome Shabbat that fits with that theme. The words are Lechu Neranena Ladonai, let us sing out to God. Lechu Neranena. Sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Yai Lai 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 Lai. We continue welcoming Shabbat on page 138 with the words of Lecha Dodi. We will sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and before the final verse, we'll rise and face the door to greet the Sabbath bride. remain standing and turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. The Ma'ariv Aravim prayer, which is the prayer that you can find on page 148, acknowledges with gratitude God's ongoing work of creation. Tonight, we represent those words with a sentence, with a verse from the book of Genesis. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od. When God saw all of the wonders of creation, God looked around and God saw that it was all very good. There was evening. There was evening. There was morning. There was evening. There was morning. Vayerev, vayivoker, tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning. 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 Vayerev, vayivoker, tov me'od. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto leolam, leolam va'ed. Page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We continue with Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei fele, nora tehilot osei fele.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei fele, nora tehilot osei fele.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
On page 160, you'll find the words of the Hashkivenu prayer. This is a prayer that we recite in the evenings, and in it we ask God, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, to spread over us a shelter of peace. If you look on the facing page, on page 161, you'll see an interpretation of this prayer that I love. It reads, "Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms." The author of this text is inviting us to reconsider the idea that peace and support come only from God, and reminding us that it is our responsibility to be that source of peace, of love, of friendship for one another. This evening begins the Hebrew month of Av. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the new Hebrew month, and Av is best known as the month during which we commemorate Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which commemorates the destruction of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Our rabbis teach us that among many factors, one of the reasons that the temple was destroyed was because of sinat chinam, of baseless hatred among the Jewish people. And so as we recite this prayer this evening, we instead try to create a world of what Rav Kook, the first chief rabbi of Israel, called ahavat chinam, baseless or gratuitous or overabundant love. Let there be love and understanding among us, Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai
Eloheinu.
Eloheinu Leshalom, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding
Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor veHanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot veImahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim bechol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please take these next few moments to pray silently, either standing or seated. The traditional words of the Amidah continue through page 180, or you can just take a few moments for your own reflections.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
As I mentioned at the beginning of our service, one of the best parts about our summer Shabbat services is the opportunity to hear from guest darshanim. It's not only an opportunity for us to hear new perspectives on the weekly Torah portion, but it's also an opportunity for us to get to know members of our community a little better. And so it is my honor this evening to introduce our darshan, Dr. Mark Koch. Mark is an anesthesiologist who did his training at Yale University Medical Center. He and his wife Stephanie have been married for 20 years and have 4 children. Benjamin, who also happens to be one of my favorite bar mitzvah students of all time, although he's much older now, but I wanted to add that. Aaron, Emily, and Carly. Mark and his family have been residents of Scarsdale for 16 years and members of WRT for 10. In his free time, Mark enjoys napping, who doesn't, chatting, gardening, hiking, doing projects around the house, going to museums, and cheering for the New York Yankees. And so with that, I am pleased to call forward Dr. Koch.
Hello, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. And as Cantor Kleiman mentioned, my name is Mark Koch. And first wanted to thank Cantor Kleiman and the rest of the clergy for inviting me the honor of presenting tonight's Devar Torah. So thank you. My amazing wife and bride Stephanie and I have lived here for a long time, since '05. And we have 4 children who I am very proud of. Benjamin, who just finished high school, Emily, who will be starting her junior year at Hackley, Carly, who will be starting at the middle school, and Aaron, who is celebrating his 10th year in heaven after suffering a pretty bad problem. So tonight's Torah portion concludes the book of Numbers. So I'm going to talk a little about numbers and what they mean to me. And it's called Matot Maseh. It's in the commentary on page 1099. As Cantor Kleiman mentioned, it's a double portion and covers a panoply of topics that I will briefly summarize in 4 points. First, the point that I read about was that Moses commands that a man must keep his word, and a woman too, unless the father or her husband tells her she doesn't have to. Now, for those of you who are married here, well, I wonder how that worked for him in the Moses household, okay? Number 2, God instructed Moses to take 12,000 Israelite soldiers, 1,000 from each tribe, and attack the Midianites. Now, I found this pretty curious because Zipporah's mom and dad were from Midian, and her dad, only her dad or Moses, could relieve her of her obligation to keep her word. And I thought that just got to thinking. I thought that was interesting that those two things, in my mind, were somehow linked up. So when Moses commanded the Israelites to kill Zipporah's townfolk and all the males, again, I found that just interesting. And they actually did do that. They burned the villages, and they took the animals, they took the tools, they took the women, they took the children, and they basically destroyed the place. I totally get the animals and the tools part. I mean, the sheep, the oxen, the dogs, the cats, I get it. But I didn't understand the other parts about that stuff. It just didn't make sense to me. And then when they took the women and children, I got to thinking, right? Anybody who's had to change a lot of diapers and watch their teenage kids on the phone nonstop and get into arguments with their wife, I mean, I'm like, they took the women and the children and brought them back. I'm like, okay. Tools I got, but not the other part. It was a head scratcher for me. So I could imagine this, and Moses is watching out into the distance, and he sees the Israelite soldiers coming back, and he sees a bunch of dots on the horizon, and I see the dots getting closer and closer and getting bigger and bigger. And then I could see him hearing maybe first, and I was thinking, what would he be hearing? The women who they took, I'm melting, I'm thirsty, where's the bathroom, I gotta stop. The children, where's the signal, where's the cell phone? I'm sort of imagining it in today's sort of environment and how that was. And Moses finally sees them as they get really close, and the teenagers rolling their eyes, saying, are we here already? And I said, you know what, I could see what he must have been thinking. So when they came with the tools and the animals, this all made sense. I could imagine the complaining women and the indifferent teenagers, the crying babies, and he probably said, enough's enough. You gotta do something to not make this as much as it is. So he had asked his troops, if you will, to maybe make things a little bit less many, and to me, I sort of didn't understand that, but okay, that's what it said. And then it seemed to me like he was, a little bit annoyed that they had done this, so he had them soak or bathe for 7 days or set the tools on fire. Again, I didn't understand it, but, if I had a DeWalt driver, whatever. I didn't understand that, but I sort of tried to. Then when he asked Eleazar, the sort of leader of his troops, and he said to him, would you be able to work with the Levites to divide up what's left? And there were 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, whatever, about, and there were 61,000 donkeys and 32,000 women. And I guess that worked out to be quite a bit, and I was just wondering how that worked. Like, technically, how did they divide that up? But it was a lot, and I was wondering, how did they do that, and why did they do that? But again, that's sort of what I was thinking. So the troops leave Egypt, and they go back to Israel to claim the land that God had promised them. I don't know if they took the women or the tools with them, or the animals. I just didn't know. And then I guess part 3 was how they detail how they stop at each of the 42 towns, if you will, on their journey back to Israel. And I thought that must have been really interesting as they did that. I was sort of wondering, what that was like. Like, when you came into town, what did you do? And it was just, it just got me thinking about how that was. Was it almost like a traveling road show or whatever? So, I think when they got to Israel, I was very. It really started to. That's when it really started to make kind of home for me a little bit, because Aaron, who was 123 years old, went up Mount Hor where he died, and that struck home for me because my son's name is Aaron, and he had passed away. The final part that stood out to me was the fourth part, where they talk about setting up these refugee cities for people who committed crimes, so that the people wouldn't take vengeance against them, and it gave them time to sort of cool their jets before they would have to go to before a judge or somebody like that. And I thought, again, that was interesting that they had sort of this foresight back then that even people who commit crimes still need to have their day in court and be protected while they wait that determination. So those were the Torah portions, or the parts that I read and studied about, and I tried to sort of see how they would make sense to me and how they related to my thoughts. And I thought about the 40 years, and the number 4 stuck out to me, like college for 4 years, high school for 4 years, college for 4 years, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of postgraduate work, 4 years of business school, 4 children, and it seemed like 4 to me in 40 years really kind of made sense to me, and I kind of related to that. I mentioned how Aaron going up to Mount Hor, where he died, hit home to me. My son was only 7, but Aaron was 123, I think they said. So it got me thinking about how this whole story, this whole part of the Torah was really about the unexpected, and for me at least, I didn't expect that Moses would have asked the Israelites to go attack the city where his wife's in-laws were, his wife's parents were. That was unexpected, and to me, life sometimes puts before us unexpected things. When my son Aaron was sick, he unfortunately lost his sight, and he was only 7, and he would cry out that he was blind. And when he could no longer hear, how do you explain to them what's happening? And when he can no longer feel, how do you express to them what's going on? And that to me was very much like I felt like the people that were there at the time felt, because they didn't expect it, and nobody taught them how to deal with what they were hearing or seeing, and they just had to sort of figure it out as it was going along. And that's how that related. That's how that related to me. It talks to me at least about how we all will face the unexpected, and we'll all be summoned to act without the benefit of perfect knowledge or experience. And you have to just deal with it and think about it at the moment and how you're going to deal with it. That's kind of what it meant to me. These are 4 points I pointed out about the unexpected, about going town to town, about how they kept that village, if you will, for people who they thought were, before they went before the judger, if you will, and trying to relate that to my life and how I have faced unexpected things. So I think I covered everything that I wanted to, and I, again, wanted to thank the clergy for giving me the opportunity to study these portions and think about it and contemplate what it meant to me, and in doing so, weave that into sort of the fabric of what my life has been like. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher koach to you, Mark. I think, in my opinion, the purpose of a Devar Torah is to bring to life the words of the Torah, to personalize them. And Mark, I think you, through your own personal stories, helped us to put ourselves in our ancestors' shoes this evening, and for that, I thank you. When we conclude a book of the Torah, as we do this Shabbat, we say the words chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and let us strengthen one another. And Mark, I think it took strength for you to share your story with this congregation tonight, and I think all of us derive strength from hearing it, and so thank you. And as we say those words, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, be strong, let us strengthen one another, we summon strength too for all of those in our community and in our world who are in need of healing. And so we pause now, we take a moment to think of all of those who would derive strength from knowing that a community such as this one is thinking of them, is praying for them. And so at this time, if you are thinking of somebody who is in need of healing and would like to share their names with our community, I'd invite you to rise and to do so at this time. Our community adds the names of Eliyahu Mecha Ben Sarah, Jeff Rothberg, Marvin Lipton, Robert Zagoria, Tony DeLappa, Gina DeLappa, Naomi Bat Moshe Esther, Mark Sosnowitz, Cliff Adler, Matthew Atwood, Stephen Bleckman, Gloria Byron, Anthony and Elizabeth Danker, Mordechai Ben Yaakov, Georgette Nussbaum, Deborah Kapnick, Nicole Shusey, Neil Glasgow, Leah Greenspan, and Andrea Reiner, Chaim Ben Sipora, Masha Bat Sora, Aviva Tzila Bat Esther Bela, Jeffrey Millman, Ken Master, Mary Deutsch, Chava Bat Sara, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fredel, Sheila Fried, Malka Tzipora Bas Rachel, Tamar Bat Malka, Heschel Meir Ben Davida Chana, Shai Aviad Ben Balfora, Howard Cowan, Rosa Aurora Ramirez Vera, and all of those whose names are in our hearts. You'll find the words of the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, on page 371.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Our concluding prayers begin on page 586. Please rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more, and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. As we prepare to recite the mourner's Kaddish, so that our community is able to offer comfort to one another, I would like to ask our congregation to rise in the following order. If you are in the period of Shiva, the first week following the death of your loved one, would you please rise at this time? If you are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days following the death of your loved one, would you please rise? If you are in the first year since the loss of your loved one, would you please rise at this time? And if this Shabbat marks a yard site, the anniversary of your loved one's death, would you please rise at this time? And I ask our entire congregation to rise in sympathy and in fellowship as we think of those who were taken from us in the last 30 days. Joseph Lewin, husband of Constance Lewin and father of Deborah Lewin, Weiner, and Jack Lewin. Phyllis Josselson, sister of Bennett Josselson. Phyllis Perla, wife of Stanley Perla, mother of Jason Perla and Brian Perla, and sister of Sheila Farber. Daniel M. Sokoloff, husband of Martha Kaiser, father of Remy, Simon, and Esme Sokoloff, son of Marcia and Zavi Sokoloff, and brother of Heather Sokoloff. Richard Berger, father of Patricia Berger Friedman. Nancy Wexler, wife of Charles Wexler and mother of Karen Scheffler and Michael Wexler. Karen Mindich, wife of Mel Mindich and mother of Mark Mindich and Eric Mindich. And those whose Yartzeit we commemorate on this Shabbat: Sylvia Abelson, Jonathan Austin, Patricia Barrett, Doris Beck, Marvin Breyer, Paul Coburn, Jerome Dagan, Eric Finkelstein, Henry Foreman, Peter Gilman, Louis Gingold, Estelle Jaffe, Sam Glazer, Pearl Levin Goldstein, Alice Hart, Lynn Herbert, Ethel Heyer, Marcine Hiltzik, Gertrude Kahn, Donald Kay, Marvin D. Kenigsberg, Betty Kessler, David Cosson, Jean Littman, John Mayhew, Samuel Melamed, Melvin Nelson, Ernest Neumer, Edith Oken, Matthew Ptasic, Margaret Rosenzweig, Stephen Ross, Joseph Rubens, Anita Saltz, Lillian Sassanow, Isaac Schreier, Maxwell Schmerler, Louis Simberkoff, Howard Teitelbaum, Max Wallace, Julia Weinberg, Richard Weisberg, Sarah Goldman Wallens. We say Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, as together we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, be'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam ule'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Please be seated. Before we conclude our service, I have a few announcements to share. First, we hope that you will join us for Torah study tomorrow morning, taking place at 9 a.m. on Zoom. You can find the Zoom link in your weekly e-blast. Torah study starts with a brief minyan, and then we have an opportunity to study Torah together tomorrow with Rabbi Jeff Middleman. And a few events that are taking place in the coming weeks. First, next Saturday, July 17th at 9:30 a.m., we'll be commemorating Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is a commemoration of the destruction of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem, as well as a number of calamitous events that have impacted the Jewish people throughout history. It's a special program this year for Tisha B'Av. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure.
Okay.
So we're going to start gathering together for a little WRT ritual over Zoom for 30 minutes. And then at 10 a.m., we are joining our sister congregation in Jerusalem, Kihilat Mevaseret Zion, and our rabbi friend who is there. Each of us are bringing Muslim partners to have a conversation around the new government in Israel that now spans much or most or almost all of the spectrum of Israeli society, including an Arab party, and talking about the greatest opportunities and the greatest challenges with that new government in the spirit of Ahavat Hinam, which Cantor Kleinman mentioned earlier, boundless love rather than hatred.
Thank you. And finally, please mark your calendars for Thursday evening, August 5th, for the return of WRT's beloved summer stage concert. This year, in celebration of Bob Dylan's 80th birthday, the concert will have a Bob Dylan theme. This year we'll actually be partnering in this concert with Congregation Kol Ami, which if you don't know, my husband serves as cantor, so it's a nice opportunity for all of us to get to sing together, and the concert will take place outdoors at Kol Ami. So we hope to see you on Thursday evening, August 5th. Before we conclude our service, too, I wonder, Cantor Rodniski, if you might share a word or two about what you're doing on Sunday, about which we will hear more when you return.
Yes, on Sunday there is a rally that has gotten bigger and bigger, and I hear that many, many people will be there, called No Fear, a Rally for Jewish Solidarity, that's been organized by Elisha Wiesel, the son of the late Elie Wiesel. And it's organizations and institutions and people from across the Jewish world, different denominations, different political spectrums as well, gathering to be together and to, raise our spirits in the face of the anti-Semitism that we are facing, unfortunately, in this country.
Thank you for representing our congregation, and we will look forward to hearing about your experience upon your return. A few words of thanks before we conclude. First of all, thank you as always to our pianist and conductor, Pete Malinverni, and a special thank you as well to Eve and Jay Landau for serving as our greeters this evening. We'll conclude by singing together the words of Oseh Shalom. Please rise. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I don't care that it was for 2 minutes. It was bad. People can liked it. Yeah. Yeah, we should do that more. I know it's like Shabbat Shalom. Yeah. CD just for that.